It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of March 19th, 1999. We have 4 movies to look at today, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock in the romantic comedy, Forces of Nature.
Forces of Nature is outrageously funny.
I don't know you that long, but I think something may be wrong with you.
A fun hit ride. Newsweek calls it unabashedly romantic and fun.
Sorry about that kissing thing. If I'd known you were getting married, I never would have made it open mouth.
I'm getting married tomorrow. I have non-refundable tickets to Hawaii, and I cannot make myself leave this room.
Sandra Bullock, Ben Affleck, Forces of Nature, rated PG-13, now playing everywhere.
So you got Ben Affleck playing this book jacket summary writer who's ready to fly back to Savannah, Georgia to marry his fiancée, played by Maura Tierney. But then the plane crashes at takeoff and Ben is stranded at the airport, but soon meets this free-spirited woman played by Sandra Bullock, who finds a man called Vic, who offers him a ride in his rented car where they'll split the expenses. And among their troubled journey, the forces of nature seem to conspire against Ben as he gets better acquainted with this unpredictable woman. And soon he questions whether or not he should go through with marrying Bridget. It's the same kind of story we've seen done over and over again. In fact, Sandra Bullock has done a number of these type of films in the throughout much of the 90s, and really, it's not really all that good. I mean, this is a film that just moves way too fast. The editing on this, the cinematography on this is just all over the place. And surprisingly, the chemistry between these two really good actors, Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock, just does not work at all. Like, it just really does not have that ebb and flow that this film really needed. And it just goes for the predictable jokes, the jokes that we've heard time and time again, the jokes that aren't really all that funny, aren't really all that clever. But it's a romantic comedy, so we gotta throw them in there. We gotta have the third act breakup. We gotta have the wire revealed. We gotta have the, all the romantic comedy cliches. And it just doesn't work. It's a movie that really, with the talent that they have on here and this director that they have, Brown and Hughes, who would later go on to direct the much better, who directed Harriet the Spy before this. I thought for a second he directed Snow Day, but that is not the case. Actually, it's a she. I'm sorry, I got that confused, but she had directed Harriet the Spy, which was okay for what it was, but yeah, you kind of expect her to evolve as a filmmaker after that, with her first film and all that, but it's also written by Mark Lawrence, who would have much better success with Sandra Bullock the following year with Miss Congeniality, and went on to become a director in his own right, but this is just not a good film. Lawrence also wrote the Out of Towners remake we talked about a couple weeks ago, which was not that great, but I'll give it this. This is probably a little bit better, but not by that much. I mean, it's a film that you think could have been that easily could have been so much better, but the cinematography is just all over the place. The editing is all over the place. Like, they edit it like an action movie at some points. It's just kind of like, really? Like, why do you have to throw this wacky editing in here? It's just all over the place. And like I said, the leads don't have the chemistry that really needed to be here to make this work. I mean, Sandra Bullock and Ben Affleck can have chemistry in movies, and I would have liked to have seen another film with them together, but here, it just doesn't work. It goes through the same cliches we've seen done over and over again. It's boring, it's not funny, it's uninventive, it gets annoying at several points. It's not a good film. It's not a worthy film at all. Avoid it like the plague. That's Forces of Nature. So on to the next movie, Clint Eastwood in True Crime.
What do you think of Beecham?
Well, sometimes I think about the girl who shot dead over $96. Mostly I think about doing my job.
Well, 12 hours from now, convicted killer Frank Beecham will be executed by lethal injection.
Oh, there's a horse.
I'm looking for his new interest angle, final date, what it's like, right?
Put Everett on it.
Just say everything with Everett is a big investigative witch hunt.
Hey, he was a drunk then, he isn't now. Everett, come here.
I would tell everyone that I believe in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. I believe I'm going to a better place, better justice there. Is there any more that you want?
Mr. Beecham, frankly, I don't give a rat's ass about Jesus Christ. I don't care about justice in this world or the next. So I'm going to ask you, did you kill that woman or not?
Read the transcripts. A witness saw Beecham with a gun.
I think I will feel a whole lot safer when Frank Beecham's gone.
Is there something here before?
Yes, sir. That's where the potato chips used to be.
How could you assume that with the potato chips? The potato chips? This is a white accountant in Richmond. Telling me he's just gonna walk into a grocery store when he heard the shots.
You're the guy that led that crusade to get the rape mystery released last year.
How are they gonna kill the guy tonight?
Can we come back tomorrow?
After a police investigation, a trial, what, 6 years of appeals, and you found discrepancies?
Now, come on, there was somebody, wasn't there? Give me something.
Man, what do you want from me? What do you people want from me?
Anybody ever tell you that Beecham volunteered for a lie detector test? And he flunked it big time. So why don't you just go pour yourself a towel and think about that?
Goodbye, Dad.
I don't know whose head you're trying to save here. Beecham's or your own.
From Academy Award-winning director Clint Eastwood.
From Beecham, let me tell you a little.
True crime.
So Clint Eastwood plays this Oakland Tribune journalist with a passion for women and alcohol, and is given the coverage of the upcoming execution of this murderer played by Isaiah Washington. His attractive colleague, played by Mary McCormick, died in a car accident the night before, and his boss, played by Dennis Leary, and husband to Steve's current affair, wants him dead and gone as soon as possible. And when Steve stumbles across the possibility of this guy being innocent on death row, he feels his time has come. Now Steve only has a few hours left to prove the innocence of this guy and to be right with his theory, and he will definitely be history if he's not. And really the biggest fault of this movie, honestly, is that it kind of reminds me of way too much like a more serious, more deep To Kill a Mockingbird, and it just doesn't quite work. This is part of a time when Clint Eastwood made these movies that he was kind of on a low streak at this point. Like, some of his movies that he was putting out as a director were not really turning out to be that great, and this one definitely is not one of his stronger films, and he would kind of follow it up with probably the film that brought him back on track a little bit with Space Cowboys, which is much more mainstream. This one feels like it's trying a little too hard to figure out what kind of an audience it wants to sell to. Does it want to be the type of film that sits around with a limited crowd, or does it want to be a straightforward mainstream film? And the mystery really is not that intriguing. I mean, that trailer alone, you could pretty much tell what's actually going to happen when this is all said and done. I mean, like, there's really no reason to watch this film. And Clint Eastwood has made a lot of better films, and I think a lot of people back then really thought the same thing, because this film was not a big hit whatsoever. It was a big bomb. It was cost $55 million, only bought back in $16 million. So people were rightfully stepping away from this film pretty quickly, and honestly, I can't blame him for that, because the film really was not that good. It was a major disappointment for Clint Eastwood, and like I said, he kind of go back on track a little bit after this next film that comes in 2000 with Space Cowboys, but this was kind of the end of a little bit of a lull for him after with Absolute Power, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and then True Crime, and he'd come back on track to start the new millennium off. So that's True Crime, and here's another Warner Brothers bomb that came out on the same weekend in 1999, the animated adaptation of The King and I.
In a land far, far away, he was the king, and his word was law.
Someday you too will know everything.
When do I know that I know everything?
When you are king.
She's coming. The king's new school teacher.
Let's show them something truly barbaric. Where is school teacher?
Now, a woman with a mind of her own.
I won't have soldiers at my door.
You will stand here and meet royal children.
Will open his eyes to a changing world.
You've never been outside?
What? Royal children outside Thomas?
Getting to know you, getting to feel free and easy.
Warner Brothers Family Entertainment and Morgan Creek Productions invite you into a mysterious kingdom where a trusted friend plots betrayal.
I will be ruler of Siam.
Oh, that scared me.
A servant girl will find her strength.
Who are you?
An object like rug given to king.
A prince will defy his father.
Servant girl and prince forbidden.
And the king will discover the true power of friendship.
You have been great help to me.
I'm speechless.
For once. Come, discover all the magic. All the music. And all the adventure. Of The King and I. Etc., etc., etc.
So yeah, what that trailer doesn't also tell you is that it's actually produced by Rankin Bass, the company, of course, the company that gave us Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman. In fact, the director of this is Richard Rich, who also gave us The Swan Princess, which was also a Disney knockoff, but at least it was trying compared to this movie. I mean, this is loosely based off of Rodgers and Hammerstein's musical of the same name, and loosely you'll automatically see right away if you watch the film how loosely this thing starts off with. But we'll get to that in just a second. But it portrays a fictional account of English school teacher Anna Linolen's, played by Miranda Richardson here, as in her historic encounter with the King of Siam in the royal court. And Martin Vidnotic plays Moncoute, and you also have Ian Richardson, Daryl Hammond, Adam Wiley. The songs in the movie are pretty much taken from the musical, and they said that the writers of this took creative liberties with the history and the source material for the musical in an attempt to make the film palatable to all audiences. And yeah, they did that. And like I said, right from the get-go, the film literally begins with the villain of the film, who is Kralahome, who's actually a friend of the king in the musical, but here they're making the bad guy because, hey, Disney had the same thing too, and let's give him a comic sidekick too, played by Daryl Hannah, who's got this really bad Asian voice that he adds on to this role. I mean, that's one of the things that's wrong with it. But his first thing he does when he sees the school teacher is like, I'm going to give her a massive sea serpent and try to kill her, even though I need her to be part of my plan to take over the kingdom. And that is just one of the many problems with this movie that you'll see right away. The scenes in here make no sense. The animation is really, really sloppy. Like, the Swan Princess was at least trying to put together some nice animation and actually have fluid animation at times. But this, you could just tell that this was just a really bad film right from the get-go. It's just kind of like, the jokes aren't funny. Everybody has a sidekick, a comic sidekick in here that they were clearly trying to sell toys off of. I mean, this is a film that was just, it's almost it's not as bad as Quest for Camelot, but it comes pretty damn close to being a straight-up Disney knockoff in the worst possible way. Like, nothing about the story makes any sense. It has no charm to it. The animation is not that great. The music is not that great either. And I honestly can't really delve into this much more in a way that could actually add to something to it. If you want to see a better example of how to look at this movie, go watch the Nostalgia Critic's King and I review, because he did that a whole lot better, covering the history of the story, which has quite an intriguing history with the many different versions they've done of this. But yeah, it was actually one of two films based off of The King and I we got in 1999, the other being Anna and the King with Jodie Foster, and we'll find out later on down the year how that turned out. But this one, not so much. So, on to the last film, and that is Ravenous.
It's the flesh of another. He absorbs the other man's strength. Evil. I just have to try. Power really does. Hunger. But you stop. You don't. Tomorrow. You are.
Ravenous. Rated R. Tomorrow, only in theaters.
So yeah, I never even heard of this movie before I even did this, but this is a horror western cannibal film starring Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, Jeffrey Jones, and David Arquette. And the story is that you have this guy, Captain John Boyd, who receives a promotion after defeating the enemy command in the Battle of the Mexican-American War, but because the general realizes it was an act of cowardice that got him there, he's given a backhanded promotion to Fort Spencer, where he's third in command. The others at the fort are two Indians, George and his sister Martha, who came with the place, Chaplain Toffler, Reich the soldier, Cleves, a drugged-up cook, and Knox, who is frequently drunk, when a Scottish stranger named Colquhoun appears and recovers from frostbite almost instantly after being bathed. He tells the story about a party leader named Ives, who was eating members of the party to survive. As part of their duty, they must go up to the cave where this occurred to see if any of them survived. Only Martha, Knox, and Cleve stay behind, and George warns that since Colquhoun admits eating human flesh, he might be a Wendigo, which is a ravenous, cannibalistic creature, which Sounds like a badass idea for a movie, and it didn't do so bad critically. It got a mixed reception, which for a movie like this isn't the worst thing possible, and there's actually been attempts to make a story like this. Trey Parker, of course, did Cannibal the Musical, which is a funny black comedy that was made before he and Matt Stone created South Park. We later got Bone Tomahawk, which was received a whole lot better. But this is a film that definitely has a very interesting idea to it, and one that I might actually want to check out, because you got a lot of good talent in here, and it just sounds like a creative idea overall. I just feel like maybe it was a little bit too ahead of its time. It wasn't as big of a flop as something like Wing Commander was, but it still did well enough to garner a cult following to it, and at least people like this one compared to Wing Commander. But I'm actually kind of curious to check this one out. We are in Halloween season by the time I'm recording this. It's October 3rd, 2023, so I don't know, maybe I can look around for this, and maybe I can actually watch it, because I'm actually really curious to see what this is like. So yeah, not much more to say about that one. That is Ravenous. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and we'll wrap March off next time with 3 movies: Ron Howard's star-studded Ed TV, The Mod Squad, and Doug's first movie. So 3 films we'll look at next time. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.